TV.
Country people, una well done. Una welcome to DGM TV, the Ogbonge TV station when they give una Ogbonge news story as it dey happen and as it dey hot.
Agency has achieved in the last 3 years in 3 minutes. So let's see if I can do this. Time, set the timer, let's go. We registered 200,000 people across Edo State in every local government on the Edo Jobs portal. The Edo Jobs portal has matched over 51,242 people to jobs in the private and the public sector. We set up Edo Innovates. Edo Innovates has upskilled over 27,732 people with our partners such as Microsoft, Google, Siemens, and so many other organizations. We've partnered with companies like Uber, Main One, and Curators University. We have given out over 21.7 million naira grants to startups and small businesses through our pitch competitions. We have trained over 1,100 individuals in ICT and digital design, many of whom are earning money from clients around the world in currencies from around the world. We partnered with American Towers Company to set up 4 satellite centers in rural communities to introduce young people to ICT. Rural communities such as Auchi, Benin, Ekpoma, and Irua. We have set up the Edo Internship and Apprenticeship Scheme that has achieved over 70% retention rate for participants. We have hosted job fairs that have had over 5,000 job seekers and 300 employers over the last 3 years. Our skill acquisition programs have reached over 23,874 people, 302 in GSM and laptop repairs in Benin and Auchi, 6,028 in cosmetology, ICT, catering, and so many other skills. Over 2,000 women were trained in partnership with the Office of the First Lady on small-scale poultry production, and 44,000 chicks were given out. We set up Edo Production Centers where artisans and small-scale manufacturers such as welders, polythene producers, carpenters, so many others, fashion designers have access to 24-hour power supply, factory space, access to finance through the Bank of the Industry, and all these artisans together have created an additional 152 new jobs. We set up Edo Creative Hub to create jobs in the entertainment sector. We had the National Sports Festival Creatives Competition where the Office of the Deputy Governor gave 1.5 million naira to young people in Edo State to create the mascot and the theme song for the National Sports Festival. 7.5 million naira was given out to movie makers in Edo State, young movie makers. I need extra time. Young movie makers in Edo State to shoot 10 Edo-centric movies. And we took returnees to Lagos to attend the Real-Time Film Festival where they got trained by the greats like Omotola Jalade, Shego Arinze, and so many more. The Edo Food and Agri Cluster has generated over 6.8 million naira worth of business for rural farmers. 328 people were trained in beekeeping. Some of them were given starter packs. 295 people in catfish processing. Extension services to thousands of farmers. We also set up the Edo Helpline. There's so much more to say, but I'll stop here. So I'm throwing this challenge to every other official in the Godwin Obaseki administration.
BDP Digital Media Team. And we are having as our guest the Managing Director of the Edo State Skill Development Agency. She oversees the Edo Jobs Initiative and the Edo State Skills Development Agency, coordinating efforts and implementing programs to fulfill the promise of His Excellency, Mr. Godwin Obaseki, Governor of Edo State, to create 200,000 jobs in 4 years. With her team, she implements innovative projects to create the demand for and provide the supply of high-skilled talents in Edo State. Over 150,000 youths have benefited from the state government's job creation initiative. Through the Edo State Government Skills Development Agency, she brings her experience of tackling unemployment from a social enterprise and civil society into governance. Her exploits in tackling the menace unemployment in Edo State as the SSA to the governor on skills development and job initiatives saw her appointment as the managing director of the Edo State Skills Development Agency as soon as it was established by law. That is why we are bringing her on board today to talk more about the achievements of Godwin Obaseki, the governor of Edo State. Please welcome on board Ukinebo Diary. You're welcome on the program.
Thank you so much.
And my name is Habiba Oyege Oyarekwa, your uncle, on this program. And this is the maiden edition. And I'm sure you are going to enjoy it. Now, Uki, what has been the most striking achievement of His Excellency Godwin Obaseki in this job creation drive?
Okay, interestingly, the most striking achievement for me of His Excellency in job creation is more about a mindset change. So when we first came to set up Edo Jobs, when the government set up this program and all of that, one of the most important things we had to do was to find out, like the governor always said, to know the dimensions of the problem. So to get people registered, who are the people looking for jobs, where are they, what are their interests, and all of those things. But one thing that we saw when going around all the local governments to get people to register was this general sense of, can it be true? Can I really get something? You know, can it really work? But I think the biggest achievement is the fact that right now we have a whole mass of young people who, because they have benefited, or because they know somebody that has benefited from the Edo State Skills Development Agency and from the government, the way they see the world has changed. We push a narrative, we push a very strong narrative that the superhero in your story is you. We are here to enable you, we are here to open up opportunities to you, we are here to train you, but you take responsibility for where you're going. And you know, seeing that now we have so many young people that are striving to do amazing things, for me, I think is the biggest achievement, because when you create the opportunity for people to believe in themselves and to go out in search of opportunity, you've solved half of the problem.
And how were you able to work on the psyche of these youngsters amongst us to believe in the job initiation?
Yeah, I think the first thing is that we had to ensure that everything that people could get on Edo Jobs was merit-based. Okay. So people were used to the fact that, oh, if I'm supposed to get something from government, I have to lobby, I have to know somebody, I have to have a connection, I have to have an uncle. So we were very strict about the fact that when Edo Jobs has opportunities, we must advertise them and people must apply. So it's a competition from the beginning to the end. So whether it's a job opportunity, it's a competition. Whether we're giving money to people who are going to do business, they have to apply and compete for it. Because what that does is that when you get it, you realize that, oh, I had this in me all along. And then before you know what is happening, I remember when Edo Jobs first started. When we put out opportunities, you start getting a lot of people writing online, can it be true? Oh, I don't have an uncle.
Doubting Thomases.
Yes, but now, yes, there's still a few doubting Thomases, but immediately a doubting Thomas posts something, within seconds, somebody else is posting that, I'm a testimony, I can tell you it's real, go ahead and try. So you see that there's now peer development amongst the young people. They are telling themselves the truth that, look, let's go out there. So by focusing on making everything based on merit and helping people to strive, we're able to really work on the mindset.
Now, you know, a lot has been said to disparage this job creation effort of the Edo State government. What would you say to those who still believe that this job creation data is a fluke?
I think for us, what I would say to you is just do your research. I mean, the data is out there. We've published it several times. A lot of organizations have assessed Edo Jobs, not just Edo State assessing itself. We have organizations like
DJNTV. She served as an editor with this day newspaper and consultant on media and public relations to numerous international conglomerates and, of course, multinational companies. He is a multi-award-winning journalist, and he remains a go-to person for economic and industry insights on Nigeria's business environment. Osagi is a graduate of agricultural economics from the prestigious Ambrosali University, Ekpoma, Edo State. Mr. Osagi, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you, Abiba, for having me.
Now, what are the three key legacy projects of the Governor Gordon Obaseki-led administration that should convince Edo people to vote for him for a second term?
Yeah, well, there's so many projects, so sometimes it's difficult to pick 1, 2, 3. But I would say that the reforms that have happened in the education sector is remarkable. The reforms that has taken place in the civil service is remarkable, and also the judicial reform is also remarkable. There are several other projects, but I would just want to pick these 3 areas of reforms that the governor introduced as the 3 major areas that has transformed the most people in the state.
Now, can we pick on education?
Yeah, education, amazing work that the governor has done on education, amazing work. The governor came on board and realized that there was challenge with the education sector in Edo State, like any other state in Nigeria. And so he decided that, to begin to fix a problem that is a huge structure, you have to go to the base, and you have to go to the foundation. And basic education is the foundation of education. So the governor decided that he was going to pay a lot of attention to education at that sector. And then a massive transformation began, and the governor looked at it and said, what, most times when governments want to fix education, the first thing they focus on is the physical infrastructure, in the school building, the classrooms, the blackboards, and then after they've done all that, they just walk away. But we thought that, the governor thought that was not going to be sufficient. It's not enough to just build a classroom. It's common among politicians. They say, I built a classroom of 2 blocks of 6 classrooms, and then they'll do a documentary and start sharing it. But would the classroom windows and doors teach the students? What about the capacity enhancement for teachers themselves? What about the learning environment? If you ask any education graduate, he will tell you that there are certain components that are essential for learning to be effective. Environment is one of it. The content itself, the people who are going to train the people who are going to teach the students, they must be trained, their capacity must be enhanced. And so that's how we approached the transformation of the education sector at the basic level. While we're building schools and renovating schools, we didn't stop there. We went into massive training of teachers. In some states, they harass the teachers and say they don't have capacity, they can't teach, some teachers can't spell. The question you ask the governments that own those teachers is, how many times have you sent these teachers for training since you employed them? No. How many times have you, sent them to be, to be gathered in a location and their skills honed and enhanced? So we kicked off from there.
How has this impacted the life of the ordinary Edo student?
So it's a long story. If you want to understand it, then you need to listen to it. So the story started from there. So the governor said, okay, you know what? I need to first and foremost know how many children I have in these schools and how many teachers I have in basic schools. And this census was done, and we found that we had, about 300,000 children across all the basic schools in the state. And then we found out we had over 12,000 teachers in these schools. Okay. So the census was key, because before you begin to solve a problem, you must be able to dimension that problem and measure it. And having known the number of schools we have, the number of students or pupils we have in basic schools, and then the number of teachers, we started, to enhance capacity for the teachers. So we broke them down into different groups and started training them in phases. So we brought, education experts, Bridge International. We entered into an understanding. We signed an MOU. Our opposition doesn't like hearing that. They say MOU, it's not, but MOU is the way this governor engages problems and solves them.
Yeah, so we actually coming to the issue of the MOU.
We signed an MOU with Bridge, and then we started to engage this issue. So we kicked off training of teachers. In the end, we've trained about 11,500 teachers in the state. And we don't just train them and let them go. We train them and then we equip them. Each of these 11,500 teachers have tablets The tablets are just like, Android phones. So it's a little bit larger than this, is in the pocket. And then each tablet is loaded with everything the teacher needs to instruct the pupils. So you have the names of all the pupils in her class or his class loaded in the tablet. You have their names, their addresses, their location, their parents' names, their parents' phone numbers, everything inside. You have the curriculum, whatever the teacher is going to be teaching them for the whole term, loaded inside. So the teacher doesn't have to burn the midnight oil just trying to make lesson notes. They are already preloaded, And then the device is GPS enabled. So, which means that when a teacher walks into a school compound with that device, it automatically syncs with the portal in the school, and then also syncs with the central control in Suburb and the governor's office. So when that teacher comes to school, we know that teacher has entered the school premises. And then from there, the teacher goes to the attendance section of the tab and takes attendance for the students. So John Negbedion, say present, sir, she'll take. Philip Cruz Osage, say present, sir, he'll take. And then in the end, the teacher knows how many students were in school that day. As he's taking, we are getting it in government house, they are getting it in Suburb. So we know the number of children in that class that were in school that day. So we're able to zoom in and say, okay, why is this child not coming to school? Maybe this child has been absent for a week. Then we zoom into that child's records, we get the child's parents, we ring them up and ask them why the children are not in school. So that's the extent to which we have intervened in the lives of these children. And so you find that education now is not just happening to the children, it's happening to the parents as well. It's happening to their communities. And in order to ensure that these schools are safe and this equipment secure, we engage the community as well. So we form associations within communities where these schools exist, and we bring them in and give them ownership of this equipment and these schools. And so they meet with the teachers and the head teachers on periodic basis to talk about how the school can be further developed, how the school can be protected, and so on and so forth. So there's community ownership, there's capacity enhancement, there's a whole social reorganization across the schools in the state. And this has happened in virtually all the primary schools in Edo State.
You said we have about 12,000 teachers and about 300,000 pupils, right?
Yes.
I did a bit of arithmetic. I divided the 300,000 by the 12,000, and that gave me 25 pupils per class.
Yeah.
Is that what we are having?
Yeah, but this it's not evenly distributed. Okay. There are urban schools where you have more pupils, and then you have rural schools where you have less pupils. So it's not like an average number. But yes, that's the average. However, in some schools, pupils are more than in other schools.
Now let's talk about the civil service reforms.
Amazing. Civil service reforms, amazing. Now, if you're set out to transform a system, it must revolve around a bureaucracy. If you have a company, for example, and you want to transform that company, you cannot transform that company outside the management of that company. You must go to the management first, organize the management of that company before you begin to layer the transformation you want to bring to that company upon the management that you have first restructured. And so for governments, the management is the civil service. It's the civil service. They are the management, they are the bureaucracy around which the transformation of any government or any state can revolve. You cannot develop successfully and sustainably any public space without first intervening in the bureaucracy. And so that's where the governor started. Okay, the first thing he did once he came to office was to visit these workers, these government workers, these public servants, civil servants
in their
offices. And he was appalled at the state of the offices. It was a mess. And so the governor thought to himself that, look, you know what, if we say we want to transform a state, and the people who handle the bureaucracy upon which we want to transform that state, and they're living in squalor, they work in dysfunctional environments, you can never succeed. So the governor ensured that there was transformation in the workplace for these workers. And that's how you come about the Block C, Block D, the gigantic structure standing on Sapele Road, so that place was redone. was essentially built from scratch because they were just abandoned structures that were there. So he redid it and built it completely. If you walk in there now and you think about the head office of GT Bank or Zenith Bank, there's no difference. You know? So our public servants now work in very well organized environments. That was the first step into the reforms. But that's not all. Those are the hard issues. What about the soft issues? The civil servant wants to know when his salary is going to come. No civil servant really knows. Across the country, I hear that some states now, the NLC is mobilizing to go on strike in some states across the country because their salaries have not been paid, the civil servants. But this governor has ensured that since he came to office, every person in the public sector, every person who works for this government earns a salary 25th, 26th of every month. And in months when you have, when you're going to have what you call Salah or any of these holidays, if it comes on the 20th, then the government makes sure that the workers earn their salaries before that celebration so that they will have resources with which to celebrate. And workers in Edo State now know that as sure as death and as sure as life itself, on the 25th, 26th of every month, they are going to earn their pay. And so what that does to you is that it liberates you. You can now think, you can plan. So they can take things for credit and they know that they are going to get money to pay back. And the people who are selling these things also know that these workers earn their salaries on the 25th of every month. So there's no, they never pay me yet in Edo State. Every trader who is selling anything knows that on the 25th, 26th, every public servant, every civil servant earns. And so they come to demand for their money. And that's how the economy spins around. So the people who own wares in markets don't have to keep their wares there. They can let it go. Because they know that by the end of the month, the funds for it will come from the people.
Now, has this transformation been able to address the lackadaisical attitude, you know, that is rife in most civil service offices?
To a very considerable extent. We can't transform them in just 4 years, but I can tell you that the public service or the civil service has some of the most brilliant people you can find in any society. You just don't know because they are beaten down by the way the environment is organized. One of the civil servants in Edo State now, the accountant general, has come to be my friend. His name is Julius Anelu. You know, I always used to see him. We went to secondary school together. I was a year or so ahead of me in secondary school. I always used to see him in central admin and different places. I just thought he was just a run-of-the-mill kind of guy. Until, you know, I got the opportunity to sit with him. And I found that he has 3 master's degrees. He's a chartered accountant. Are you following me? These are the kinds of people you have in civil service. But they just sit in one corner because of the way they are treated. But if you inject life into them, you find that they are exceptional human beings. And that's what we're beginning to see in Edo State government. We didn't just leave it at improving the places where they work. We also ensure that we built a training facility, which we call John Odige Oyegun Public Service Training Center. It's on Central Road, that road where the police command is. That's Central in GRA. That's where the building is. And we entered into an agreement with UNITA, United Nations Institute for Training and Research. They are the ones who help us with curriculum and facilitators. And then that's where we train our public servants. It's just been completed. Trainings have started there as we speak. So you're a public servant, you're a civil servant. You don't go months without training. It doesn't happen. For human capacity, for human resources to be efficient, you must constantly and repeatedly train them. And we've structured them for continuous training. We have the facility, we have the environment, and we have a relationship with the United Nations to ensure that these people are repeatedly trained. And we have some of the best civil servants in Edo State as we speak, consequent upon these steps. And we didn't stop there. They have a place where they live, they have a place where they work, they are trained, they are paid salaries. Where do they live? We had to ensure that we started out a low-cost housing development scheme. Another MOU with Mixta Africa. We are an MOU government. We don't run away from it. But the MOU turns out results. Today we have the first phase fully complete in Emotan Gardens. And civil servants have procured spaces there. People live there as we speak in Upper Sakbomba as part of Benin City. And people got small flats, medium-sized flats for as low as 4 million naira, which they didn't have to pay at once. So because they're sure their salaries was going to be coming steadily, and they have an upfront payment to make, so make the upfront payment and then structure the remaining payments over time. So we've dealt with, to a significant extent, where they live, we dealt with where they work, we dealt with how they are remunerated, and productivity just shoots up.
From all you have said so far, of course, it's obvious that there has been a paradigm shift in government and in governance. Now, you mentioned the judiciary.
Yes.
I think those that are watching this program right now, we want to know how the Obaseki-led administration has been able to reform the judiciary system in Edo State.
In amazing ways. Now, we once paid a condolence visit to the family of a judge that died. On our way to that place, we were almost going to turn back.
Why?
Because the place was so far and remote that we wondered why a judge would live in such a place. How can you be a judge and you live in such a place and be in court and you dispense justice, you know, against certain persons who look dangerous, and you know that you are going to that hole today to stay? How safe will you feel? We knew that we needed to reform our judiciary. Because if you're going to build a society, then you need to guarantee that there is law and order in that society. If you're going to guarantee law and order, then one area where you're going to begin reforms is in the judiciary. The judges should be able to look you in the eye and tell you that you are convicted if they think you're guilty, if they believe you're guilty. The evidence
you're removing the fear from them.
Yes. So how did we do that? You have to first give them their self-respect. So we went to where they walk to and transform the place where they walk. Go to a high court in Benin. Amazing. The entire space within the place was landscaped, all the roads tarred. It was earth road before, very dirty and dusty. We laid out the whole place and we began to do a massive refurbishing of the old high court building. After we finished that, or at the verge of finishing that, we kicked off the construction of a completely new high court building, which is now 100% complete and functional. And so we fixed where they work. So a judge walks into his office, he's feeling dignified. He's feeling the dignity that a judge should feel. And then we thought that it was not going to be enough. You fix the place where he works. Fix where he lives. He doesn't have to give his judgment and start heading to Okokomaiko to stay. So we decided to build a place for them just almost opposite the government house, close to the 4 Mechanized Brigade,
Right.
you know, on Agrobasing.
I know it.
And we've completed that first phase now. We also built a place from scratch for the chief judge of the state. If the governor has his official residence as head of government and executive, the head of the judiciary should also have. So sitting on Dennis Osadebe is a massive structure too. White House, yeah, built from scratch and completed by this government for the chief judge of the state. So now the place for the judges is complete now. They'll be moving in anytime soon. You need to go into that place. If we had clips of the judges' quarters, we have clips of the judges' quarters here, so you can play so that people will see. They're complete, thoroughly furnished, very well designed.
I've seen the place.
So our judges will just drive for 3 minutes or so, and they're in their courtrooms. They dispense their justice, they do their jobs. When they're done, they drive back 3 minutes. And then there's a common area where they can sit and read books and have conversations with their colleagues. Decent environment. That when a judge lives in a place like that, he can't give judgments that are not correct. He would be bold enough to tell you what the truth is.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chris Osagi is our guest, and of course he's bold enough to tell us what the truth is. We are still live at the PDP Digital Media Team studio. Don't go away, stay with us. We'll be back.
While the rushes of the
newly rebuilt Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium is a testament of the Governor Godwin Obaseki-led administration's commitment to drive infrastructural revolution in the state and to promote its aggressive sports development plan. The governor also embarked on the construction of 20 mini stadia with at least one stadium in each of the 18 local governments.
No man is God, Obaseki or governor, forward never, backward never, let's go further together. Godwin Obaseki, Obaseki, he's the right candidate for Edo. Oh yeah, 4+4 = to continuity. Dogba, Obaseki, continue your work. You do Ogbe Stadium renovation, even with the job best. Plenty achievement for your time, our life we done better. Obaseki Ashaibu, now them be the winning team. Godwin Obaseki, Dogba, now you we want to go. Cause it is what you do for it, now you be winner. Make we put PDP, vote our man up. PDP, power to the people. No man is God, Obaseki or governor, forward never, backward never, let's go further together. Godwin Obaseki, Obaseki.
Osage, the special advisor to Edo State Governor on media and communication strategy, is still with us in the studio. Now, Mr. Cruzo, we have seen that the issue of the MOU has dominated the campaign this period, you know, and we want you to deconstruct this and explain why the state government has delivered a number of projects with MOUs.
Yeah, you know, I was on a television program yesterday, live program, and I tried to explain this to the people. Now, no government ever has all the financial resources it needs to transform the lives of people. No government. On average, per annum, our budget in Edo State is just around $400 million. There are universities in America who have budgets of over $2 billion. Universities. I'm not talking about states or counties or you know, I'm talking about universities. The fire service of the state of Texas, I think, has budgets over $1 billion, excuse me. Are you following me now?
Yeah.
So in our state, Edo State, where we have about 4 million people, we have just the prospect of spending maximum of about $400 million every year. How do you use $400 million to transform the lives of 4 million people? If you do the calculation, 4 million people divided by $400 million, you find that the amount it comes to cannot transform the life of any person. So what do you need to do? You need partnerships. You need to build bridges between your institution, government, and other institutions that have capacity to invest in your space. Okay. And how do you do these investments, or how do you enter into these agreements without an MOU? So the memorandum of understanding, MOU, is a first step you take into getting to some sort of agreement with any organization with which you plan to invest or do a project or do something big for your people. And that's why we have decided as a government to constantly leverage that instrument. And we have used it tremendously to transform the lives of our people. Now, in just 3.5 years, this government has built a 55 megawatts power plant. 55 megawatts power plant. It would have been impossible to do this if we did not take advantage of the instrumentality of Memorandum of Understanding with Osiomo Power, Osiomo and CCETC. We entered into an agreement with them, we signed the MOU with them, and we progressed. And then eventually, today we have a 55 megawatts power plant, totally complete, 100% ready for use. It's been, the reticulation is what's ongoing now. They're drawing the lines from the substation to different buildings and facilities where the power is going to be used. And that power station is in Logbo. You know, Logbo is in Ipobaha local government, I think, in Edo State.
Yes,
and
off Sapele Road.
Off Sapele Road, yeah. And the plant has capacity for 9 more units of 55 megawatts. So we're looking in coming years to have 550 megawatts coming on stream in that place. So it's like plug and play of turbines. We have plugged in 55 now. We have 9 spaces for another replication of 55 megawatts. And in the coming years, as we progress, we just plug in. And then we have the potential of 550 megawatts. It would have been impossible without MOUs. What about the Imotan Gardens that I spoke about, where we have developed housing for civil servants and anybody for that matter who's interested in buying, not just for civil servants? We had to enter an MOU with a company called Mixstar Africa. Mixstar Africa is a Pan-African real estate development company that builds affordable and decent, accommodation for people across Africa. We entered into that agreement. We signed an MOU, and it has since progressed. Today, the first phase of that estate is complete 100%. People are living there. That's the outcome of an MOU. What about Jara Mall? We lacked departmental shops and supermarkets in Edo State. And people were just struggling. Hallmark is there, Market Square joined.
We're having to travel to Warriors about to visit ShopRite.
Some people have to, we entered into an MOU with investors who have put Jara Mall there right now. Somewhere almost at the junction of third junction near EDPA. Jara Mall is there. And know what's great about Jara Mall? They receive the products that they sell there from local producers. Yes. And so there's a spin-off effect on the local economy. So if you work with them, you're a farmer who produces cassava and fries gari, you can supply your gari there, and they sell it, and they ensure you.
As long as it's well packaged.
Yeah. Of course, they'll give you their standards, and you meet their standards, you put your products there, and they sell it. So that would have been impossible without an MOU. What about the fertilizer blending plant in Auchi? That's an MOU with Wakot. It's 100% operational as we speak. I can go on and on. MOUs transform into amazing, massive projects. Now, when they're talking about MOUs, our opposition people, they say, oh, what about Benin Industrial Park? Benin Industrial Park is very much on stream as we speak. An industrial park doesn't just grow out of the ground in a year or two. There are a lot of steps you must take before you begin actual construction, and then before you kick off. We have secured an anchor tenant for the Benin Industrial Park. That's one of the major things you need to have an industrial park. An anchor tenant, the person who's going to be the major person occupying the place, and then other ancillary tenants will join, and then the place is functional and sustainable. Okay. We haven't secured an anchor tenant, and it's ongoing. What about the seaport in Gelegele? Fantastic, it's ongoing. They have several projects attached to it. You don't just build a seaport. What about the roads through which the trucks that are going to take products from that port will ferry their products, to the city? You're not going to build that road. That's why Kenwa Road is under construction today. Kenwa Road was not just, we didn't just decide to construct a Kenwa Road out of the blues. It's because we realized that Kenwa Road is going to be useful, in removing products from Gelegele ports, from Benin Industrial, we call it the Benin River ports. That's some people call it Gelegele because it's near a community called Gelegele, but it's called the Benin River port. That's why Kenwa is under construction. There are several other ancillary projects that are in progress, around the river port, and that project is ongoing. Are you following me now?
Yeah.
So MOUs are delivering results to us in Edo State. And before you cut in with your next question, even the respected Comrade Adams Oshomole signed a few MOUs himself. The MOU for the construction of Azura power plants was signed by Comrade Adams Oshomole, although it was his brain box. You know who is his brain box? Godwin Obaseki. He said it by himself that he was the brain behind his administration, Obaseki. It was Obaseki who arranged the MOU for him. All he did was sign. So that's why he does not understand how important it is, because he didn't know how it was set up. Obaseki just set it up and gave it to him, so that's signed. And today we have Azura power plant. What about the water project with the European Commission that is now operational in Edo State? Oshomole signed that MOU in 2014, but it was Obaseki that also arranged it for him. All he did was to just append the signature. That's why today he does not understand the importance of MOU. As I've seen him on quite a few occasions, saying Obaseki is MOU government. Obaseki was doing MOU for you, Comrade Shomole, when you were governor, to advance the cost of development during your tenure. So MOUs are essential for transformation of any economy.
Now, I can say why Governor Godwin Obaseki chose Cruzo Osagi as his special advisor on media and communication strategy, because he has all the information at the tip of his fingers. He's not even looking at anything. Well done.
Thank you.
Now, we have seen that a number of the campaign materials of Godwin Obaseki has an underlying message saying that the governor is here for Edo people.
Yes.
Please, can you expatiate on that?
It's Edo first. Edo first. That's the mantra of this campaign. And in all fairness, that has been the governor's underlying philosophy since he came to power. And as a matter of fact, that was the cause of the fight, which led them to push him out of the APC into the waiting arms of our great party, the People's Democratic Party. They tossed us into the rain, and the PDP came with the umbrella. Once again, I want to thank the PDP for accepting us into the fold, and I can say to you that we are stronger with the PDP, and we thank them. So the underlying philosophy for this governor is the people. So by the time he kept pressing that the people must be put first when we want to take decisions about whether to send thugs to marketplaces to go and beat up our mothers and grandmothers who are just trying to eke out a living in either Oba Market or Akusa or Auchi Market. Thugs used to go there to whip them and harass them, beat them up. If you allow thugs to do that because of the interest of a few big political actors, you are not putting the people first. So the governor had to take a decision on that based on the people being first. And so he pulled out thugs from the market and tossed them out. That's why you see these clowns jumping on the platform of Izayamu, talking, the kinds of things that they're saying, tigers and lions and so on. Those tigers and lions that Izayamu, the candidate of the APC, was talking about, they are these thugs that Obaseki displaced for the sake of the people. For the sake, my mother has traded in the market before. My mother will give birth to me. She used to sell in Oba Market when I was in primary school. So how would I have felt if my mother was beaten up by these hoodlums in the market and had wares tossed away? So Obaseki addressed that for the sake of, because it's people first. Is that not the cause of the problem? These are the people who are jumping all over the place today and up in arms against the governor, because Obaseki has decided to put the people first. What about the decision to change how land is administered in Edo State? Land administration transformation. We have Edo GIS today. We have flown over our entire state. We know how the land pans out. And then we have started proper registration of land titles. In Edo State today, after you have done all the documentation, which takes just about a couple of days, you only have to wait for 30 working days to get your certificate of occupancy duly signed by the governor at very affordable rates. You can get it for as low as 50,000 naira. Are you following me?
Yeah.
So this is transformation the governor has brought to his state for the sake of people. What did that do? That displaced what they used to call the CDAs, which were appendages of terror for politicians, for some politicians, not all politicians, a few irresponsible politicians. And then these people were displaced, because the governor said, no, my people first. You can't go into construction sites and hound people and beat them up. What the Yorubas call omonile, kicking them around, seize all their property, harass them. When they are fencing their house, you harass them. When they are building the foundation, you harass them. All that Obaseki stopped, because it is people first. In this government, once the allocations and the internal generated revenues come, the first line charge to these things is for the people. You know what they are? The first one is salaries and pensions. It's compulsory. As sure as death, as long as Edo State remains a state, salaries will be paid first. So if salaries and pensions are taken out, and they are paid, teachers, local government workers, civil servants, pensioners, they used to die on the street. And I'm not mincing, I'm not saying this. They used to die literally on the street waiting for their pension to be paid. Is that putting people first? So we have to change that. So now pensioners sit at home and they get the alerts in their phones that they have been paid on the 25th, 26th of every month. That is putting the people first. The next line that we draw from the funds that are credible to government is for the contractors who are building projects for the people. Once upon a time in this state, when they are awarding contract for a road, they have to pad it up, they have to expand it, increase the price. By that time, it was not Obaseki that was in power. Some other people were in power at that time. So when we came to power, we asked them, how can it take over $1 million for you to tie a kilometer of road? And they were like, well, you know, there are many things that have to happen for you to tie this road. Some people have to be, some people have to, you know what I mean? So the government said, you know what, all those things are not going to happen anymore. Go and properly price your service. And then another thing that they complained about was that once they've done the project, they don't know when they're going to be paid. So they have to put some amounts to hedge against, you know, inflation, and then delayed payments, and that may lead to accumulation of interest rates from the banks where they come money to do projects. And the government say, you know what, we're going to have a very seamless process. Irrevocable standing payment orders, ISPOs. So on a monthly basis, contractors that are active on site at different locations in Edo State, they are paid a certain amount, you know, that is a ratio of what they are doing for the state. If you have a contract bouquet of, say, 10 billion naira in Edo State as a civil contractor, then you may be on a 200 million naira per month ISPO. So that's why you see our contractors don't stop working, because every month they are given the money to do their work. So that way, they also have to remove all the padding that they used to put to hedge against inflation and hedge against delayed payments and accumulated interest rates. So I can assure you that today in Edo State, we do a kilometer of road for the least possible price. I'm sure lower than any place else in the country.
And the contractors, are they happy?
Very happy, and that's why they're doing it. As we speak right now, they don't care whether election will be on the 19th of September. They're working hard every day.
All right.
They're working hard every day. That is putting people first. And that's what this government has been doing all over. And up until the battles that he faced, it was about the people. Say, no, one man cannot sit in Abuja and decide the fate of 4 million people. We have to collectively decide where we're headed as a state. And it should not be the decision of just one man. Is that not for the people? It's people first. Obaseki is people first.
All right, people first. When we come back, we are going to be talking about the endorsement of Governor Obaseki. Stay with us.
Tapping into the immense potential of agriculture for wealth and job creation, our visionary leader, Governor Godwin Obaseki, has implemented strategic and far-reaching reforms. From the Edo State Government Farm Settlement Scheme in Sobe, Onwa West local government area, a public-private partnership initiative, tons of produce have been harvested from the 725 hectares maize farm. Edo State farmers have been reaping bountifully from the state's food and agricultural cluster, Edo FAC in Agenebode and Iho. Edo FAC in Iho has benefited over 1,300 farmers. We also have the Edo State Oil Palm Program, ASOP, the state's Agripreneur Program, and the Mechanization Program, all part of the Obaseki-led administration strategies to boost micro, small-scale and medium enterprises, MSMEs, and sustain current youth-focused agricultural initiatives in the state. The list of the many achievements of the Governor Godwin Obaseki-led administration in the agriculture sector is endless. Without a doubt, the governor has performed excellently and deserves a second term to consolidate on his numerous people-oriented programs and projects in the sector. A vote for Governor Obaseki is a vote for the future of Edo State, a vote for food sufficiency, and a vote for an agro-based economy. Let's all support the governor in his revolution of the Edo agriculture sector.
We can see this is a Fem Farm facility, and we have the Fem Farm clusters using the facility here. And a total of 18 farmers farming.
SA Media on SA to the Governor on Media Communication Strategy, Mr. Kruzu Osagi. Now, The endorsement for the governor has come from diverse groups and, of course, individuals. This includes Nigerians and others in diaspora. What do you think is responsible for this massive support for the governor?
Yeah, I'm sure the opposition is completely bewildered and they are confounded by what they see happening in Edo State today. On the one hand, you have career politicians, most of them who have never worked before in their lives, and they depend on politics for everything. On the other hand, you have a governor that is very, serious with his job as a governor, protecting the interests of his people. And then you will think that the so-called career politicians who just only rely on politicking for their survival, you think that they will tilt the scale in this political environment and this political season. But it is amazing the kind of support that the governor is getting from all and sundry. This is not a question of because I'm the spokesman of the governor, therefore, what else can I say? You don't have to take my words for it. All you need to do, if you have relatives in Benin, call them if you are not watching us from Benin. If you are watching us from Benin, then you have no problem. Just go, get in a bus, move from Ipoba Hill to Ring Road. From there, move to New Benin, and just have conversations with the ordinary people. Go to the marketplace. Go to the public offices where civil servants work. Go to pensioners. Go to teachers. Go to motor parks where drivers load their vehicles and so on and so forth. Go to Keke Mawa parks. In the suburbs, go to the motorcycle parks. Just ask them. At least 8 out of every 10 persons who have capacity to vote want to vote for the governor. And this is because of the approach he brought to governance, which is putting the people first, which is where we came from. So that's what you're also seeing resonating across the world in diaspora. You find that diasporans are even more energized, in support of this governor than any group else. You know why? Because the diasporans always have to bear the brunt of a failing government. Yes, my brother did for America. He go send me money. Brother, mommy is not feeling well. She needs money. I have not paid daddy's pension for the past 3 months. Send us money. Oh. So at the end of the day, the diasporans pay for the crisis that happens in our country, because they left the country for in search of greener pastures, and they keep hearing the stories that things are still not good here, and they take it upon themselves as responsibility to always look after their people who they've left behind there, who don't have the opportunity to be where they are. So they have to bend over backwards to continue to support them. So when they find that now it looks like there's some glimmer of hope for transformation that may also now liberate them eventually once things get better, you think they won't support? That's why you're seeing the massive support from across the world. Then many of these diasporans, at some point after they've spent a couple of years abroad, they now start thinking about coming to maybe build a house here, own a property, and so on and so forth. Many of them have been swindled several times over. Why? Because land administration here was a mess. Nobody knew who owned any land. So you find people in America, in Canada, in different countries buying, lands several times over and losing their monies. But today, all they need to do is just to go on the internet, and they can begin to register their title to land. And most of them have taken advantage of this opportunity. I have friends who went to school together who are abroad, who have applied for titling for their property. And they have rest of mind today because they know they own their property. They have the CFO. Nobody can take it from them. They can do any investment they want to. They can make any investment they want to. They can build anything they want to build. And you think they won't support this governor? There's no amount of dispensing of money in this election season, which we know that the opposition is doing, out of panic. They're spraying money all around. They have a billionaire on their side in Benin here, a Benin billionaire, philanthropist, Benin billionaire, who is dispensing a lot of cash on their behalf now, trying to win them sympathy. But we want to advise him. You cannot buy the people's conscience. It's not possible. You can't. Don't stop wasting your money. Instead, deploy your money to your village. Use to tar the roads there. Use to put light there for them. Giving money to people just because you want them to support you, it will work. These people have seen the light. They have seen a governor that is transforming their lives in actual terms. So they won't mortgage that for a few bucks that you're going to give them today.
Now, talking about the forthcoming election, threats of violence has been quite prominent in the campaign in the last few weeks. What do you think is responsible for this, and how do you think the government would ensure that elections hold in a peaceful environment come September 19?
We are confident because we trust the person of the president. Forget the fact that we are now in different parties. We've had a very good relationship with Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari, and we know and we believe he's a man of integrity. You know, we know and we believe so. You know, he and all the institution he represents, we believe, you know, the only thing they will try to do is to go behind his back and try to use his name, go and tell for security forces. You know, in Nigeria it's very common. Presidents say, governors say, you know, to try to you know, but we know that he's on alert. We know that he will not allow any illegalities to happen. We know he will not allow illegal use of policemen and military men to disrupt the process. But having said that, the mass of people in Edo State are resolved to do one thing, you know, and that is to deliver their vote for Obaseki come September 19th. There is no force out of hell that is going to stop them. Are you going to just start killing people on the streets? 80% of people are going to come out on that they want to vote for the governor. What are you going to do? You can't. The people power will prevail in the end.
What about the non-state actors who have threatened to hijack the electionary process and cause violence? In your own assessment, what do you think is fueling this interest by these persons and the people that they represent?
We've talked about it before. In search of liberation for the people, the governor displaced these non-state actors, thugs. They called some of them kabaka. They got all kinds of interesting names. You know, they were displaced. They were making billions off these people. One of them, you know, celebrated that he had accumulated $1 billion for himself, and the bank who he was banking with came and gave him a promotional vehicle in acknowledgement of his accomplishment of having $1 billion in his account. This is a primary school dropout who never saw the four walls of his secondary school.
The non-state actors.
Yes, these are the non-state actors I'm talking about. These are people in the ring road harassing drivers, beating them up, innocent drivers who are trying to eke out a living, an honest living for themselves and their families. Beat them up, collect 5,000 a day from them. Market women who are trying to manage themselves, beat them up, throw away their wares, collect 500 or 1,000, 2,000 as the case may be from them on a daily basis. And these monies were not even going to government, they were going to private pockets. These are the non-state actors we are talking about. These are the people that the governor displaced. And then they are the ones who are now threatening fire and brimstone. They are the ones who are now threatening to bring war to the people because their interest has been hurt by the kind of government that Obaseki led. And I tell you, the total population of these people we speak about is not up to 50,000 people. It is going to be 50,000 of them or less up against over 4 million Edo people. They will collapse under the pressure. Are you following me? These non-state actors are only able to perpetrate the nonsense they perpetrate because some irresponsible governments support them. Once nobody is supporting them, they cannot stand the force of the people. It's not by accident that democracy is the most popular form of government in the world. Government of the people, for the people and by the people. It's not by accident. It's not by chance. It's because in the end, the people power will prevail over any other kind of power.
Now, Mr. Sagi, could you just explain briefly the philosophy behind the mega manifesto and why you believe that the governor deserves a second term?
I mean, come on. It's not the governor who will say that he deserves a second term. He doesn't need to say it. The people are the one who are saying they want their governor for a second term because of what he has done. The mega manifesto, mega manifesto is just, for me, an instrument that scales the pilots that have been introduced in this first tenure. Because the stage has been set for the transformation of this state forever. The stage has been set for it. Everything that this government has done has the capacity for expansion. I just talked to you about Osioma Power.
Yeah.
They didn't just build a 55 megawatts and leave it like that. They built a 55 megawatt plant and gave opportunity for expansion tenfold. Are you following me? So what the Mega Manifesto is telling you is how we are going to increase what we have, how we're going to scale what we have done today to cover decades to come. That's what the Mega Manifesto is telling you. So it still talks about infrastructure, what we have done today, and how we plan to scale what we have done today to cover, even larger areas. I can't see it. It talks about education, what they have done today in education and how they plan to expand it to cover. We have done basic education, we have done technical education, some part of technical. Now we want to scale to secondary education and scale to tertiary education. Civil servants, we have done certain portions of the reforms in that sector. We need to scale and expand. So the Mega Manifesto, like the word goes mega, is just a question of enhancing and expanding the basics that we have done in the first tenure to ensure that it covers everybody in the states and provides for them.
All right, we'll take our last break now. When we come back, we'll just take a few comments from our page. Please stay with us. Thank you.
Okay. So that I can see the
Obaseki, our governor, forward ever, backward never. Let's go further together. Godwin Obaseki, Obaseki is the right candidate for Edo. Vote our man Oh yeah, 4+4 equals to continuity. Obaseki, continue your work. You do Obe Stadium renovation, even with the do best. Plenty achievement for your time. Our life will done better. Obaseki Ashaibu, now them be the winning team. Godwin Obaseki, now you we want to. For the things what you do for it, now you be winner. Maybe we PDP. Vote our man PDP. Power to the people. No man is guarded. Obaseki, our governor. Forward ever, backward never. Let's go further together.
Tapping into the immense potential of agriculture for wealth and job creation, our visionary leader, Governor Godwin Obaseki, has implemented strategic and far-reaching reforms. From the Edo State Government Farm Settlement Scheme in Sobe, Onwa West local government area, a public-private partnership initiative, tons of produce have been harvested from the 725 hectares maize farm.
You're welcome back, and we still have Mr. Cruzo Osagi speaking to us live from the PDP Digital Media Studio. Just before we go to our page, a quick one. There seems to be this gang up against Governor Obaseki.
From outside.
Why?
Yeah.
From outside. Yes, why?
Yeah. Well,
When I say from outside, I mean from outside the state, from outside Edo State.
Yeah. We have realized that. We saw certain comments made recently by the national leader of the APC, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And for us, that was an unfortunate statement to be made by such a man that is so highly placed. We thought that he would have been more cautious, would have been more discreet and more careful in making such a statement. He was a governor once. You don't just wake up in the morning because you think you are Alpha and Omega and just say that the governor has committed impeachable offenses. It is so brazen and disrespectful, not just to the governor, but to the people of Edo State. Our very respected leader of the APC has to realize that Edo State is very different from Lagos. You know, Edo is not Lagos. We're not wired that way. We will rebel. We will stand up to you. We don't take instructions from people just because they are rich or perceived to be powerful. We take instructions from people who are standing on the side of the people. You know, so Edo is not Lagos. Edo cannot be annexed by one person and put inside the pocket. That is the travail that Comrade Adams Oshomola is facing today. He was trying to annex Edo State and put it in his pocket, and Edo people rebelled against him, and he got his fingers burnt. And so we won, you know, respectfully. We won Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu to take his hand away from Edo matter so that his fingers will not be burnt as well. Because you only need to study our history as a people to know that we will fight to the death. We don't give up to intimidation and threats. We stand up and we fight for our liberation and for our survival as a people. That has been, from medieval times we have done that. And the only empire that was able to conquer us in Benin was the British Empire. Nobody else ever conquered us. We conquered other people. So we advise him, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, please stay away from Edo State politics. It is a fight between the people and the oppressors, and we believe that the people will win. And if he's not on the side of the people, he's running a very big risk.
Thank you very much.
Thank
now
you.
let's go to our page. I'll take this one from our grandma Steph, who says, please, you and the governor need to do more to showcase his achievements in all media, like a documentary, so as to silence those evil EPM propagandists, because their propaganda seems to be louder than the truth and facts. From Agama Steph. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, well, you know, there's no way to stop people from telling lies, you know, no matter what you do. But what we are happy about is that our people know what this governor has done. And that's why they all support him. But, you know, as to doing more to propagate the achievements of this government, I think there's room for improvement. We will always try to do more.
Okay.
But we want to advise you, Agama, that no matter what you do, they will still say what they're saying. Because in the end, people just try to see only the things they want to see and hear only the things they want to hear and say only the things they want to say. These people who are criticizing the governor today, they know the governor has worked. That is not their anger. Their anger is that they have been shut out of the state's treasury and they don't have access to the people's, you know, resources. That's their anger. So they will concoct anything, will tell any lie, they will do anything just to try to gain access back. But we are confident that they will never find the road back into the purse of this government.
Okay. Well, I'll take another one. This one says, let's give Governor Godwin Obaseki a second chance. My PVC for Obaseki, I believe that Obaseki will win. God bless Governor Godwin Obaseki and his initiative. That is the much that we can take, and we say thank you so very much for tuning in and also for your comments. We'd like to say a big thank you to Cruiser Osagi, the essay on media and communication strategy, to His Excellency Godwin Obaseki. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you, Habiba, for having me.
And you all believe that Obaseki has a knack for having the best, you know, pegs put in the right holes, and he will agree with me that Mr. Cruiser Osagi is a square peg in a square hole. So on behalf of everybody that has worked behind the scene to ensure the success of this program, my name is Habiba Oyege Oyarekwa. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Godwin Obaseki, no man is guarded.
DJ ATV.